All right, Sunrise America continuing this morning. Boy, I tell you, it looks like at least the folks in the Northeast, that cold weather they had last week and all the snow, at least it's supposed to be up to 61 degrees. Now, being a guy that used to live in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, for many years of my life and growing up, I realize cold weather is not good for you. Not only can you get frostbite, but it can ruin your skin in a heartbeat. And better yet, even those heaters that you use to stay warm, do you know that robs the air of moisture, right? So that's why your floors creak a little bit, your plants need more water, your pets have a hard time breathing, even you yourself, your skin feels dry, right? And I know that as we get into the winter months, even though we're not into winter yet, there are things and precautions that we need to take just to make sure that our skin, stays looking good. So I figured, let's bring an expert in. Let's talk to somebody that knows a lot about this stuff. Nationally known board-certified dermatologist and a top-rated cosmetic surgeon, Dr. Kim Nichols, joining us today on Sunrise America. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Glad to have you along. I realize it's kind of warming up this week, only to go back into cold at the end of the week. But what about, all those people up in the Northeast this last week that just were inundated with cold weather? It's got to wreak havoc on their skin, right?
Oh, for sure. Like you were just mentioning, the minute that we start to put those heaters on in the house or the office, it starts to suck out all the moisture from our skin. So, that's the number one problem when the cold weather starts to hit.
And a lot of people notice that, too. So what are your suggestions?
Number one thing we want to do is just moisturize more and more than we did in the spring and the summer. So those light lotions and creams that used to be okay in the summertime or the spring, we want to go heavier, like more of the oil-based or ointment-based moisturizers to put on our skin the minute after we get out of the shower before we go outside.
So something that's a little more, that lasts longer, right?
Exactly, something that sort of traps in the moisture more than those light lotions. Aquaphor, which is more of like an ointment base. It looks kind of greasy, but it actually really works, on the lips and the body to trap in that moisture so you don't dry out when you get outside.
The lips and your hands and things like that, is that the areas that normally get the worst damage?
Those are the areas that are most sensitive to the cold, that get cracked, when the minute that we get outside. I was actually just skiing this weekend, and that's the area that, all my kids, we had to lather up on the lips and the hands and the feet.
Especially in the cold weather like we just saw.
Right. I even recommend to patients, and people usually, are kind of a little bit surprised, that windburn and even the sun, actually, in the wintertime, from the glare, from the snow, can also cause the skin to be even more damaged than just the cold.
Let's say somebody came to you and said, okay, look, I know it's going to be bad. What are the steps that I need to take to make sure that, I don't have problems this winter? What would you tell them?
Number one, I would say, cut down on the hot baths. I know it feels really good when we get inside and we take a long hot shower or bath, but it actually really zaps the skin of moisture. Moisturize a lot right after you get out on kind of more damp skin. And you also want to cover up. Of course, we all know, covering up helps, in general, but you want to cover up your hands and your feet, those things that we talked about that are most exposed. Another thing that people don't realize, which is sort of a myth that goes around, is that people think that drinking a lot of water, which is great for your health in general, can help with dry skin, and it's actually been shown not to really help that much. So really trying to keep the moisture in on the outside is what's most important. So one thing you can do instead of drinking a lot of water is actually put water in the house. And what I mean by that is using humidifiers. So that's something that I recommend for people to do, put a humidifier, especially in the bedroom.
Any type of humidifier that you recommend more than others? I know they have those the kind that pulverize the water and it's cool vapor, and they also have the hot vapor ones. So which way do you go on that?
Either one is fine as long as you don't have issues with asthma or allergies. You can use both, but if you do have those issues, I would recommend using the cool, not the warm one.
Like the ultrasonic, then, right?
Exactly.
I also know they have those passive kind, too, that are just, like they just wick the water, they wick the moisture that way. Is that a good way, too, or no?
It's not as good when we're talking about dry skin. That's more sort of an all-year season humidifier that people with allergies can use. But really you want something that's going to be more putting the moisture into the air.
So I want to see that cool vapor then. Of all the years that you've been practicing,
right.
Is there any instance where you could say, oh, my God, if they had just come to me ahead of time, I could have helped these guys or gals out?
Sometimes I tell patients, please come to me early in the season, and we can talk about things you can do to prevent it from getting that bad. If you have severely dry skin, always good to come and see your dermatologist at the beginning of the season. So so we can come up with methods to prevent it from getting too bad.
So it's good to have humidifiers. At least a cool humidifier like an ultrasonic would be best.
Yes.
And when the kind of moisture or the lotions we use, we need something that's going to last a little bit longer than the stuff we use in the summer.
Correct. Something that's more ointment or oil based. Yes,
All right.
definitely.
Well, Dr. Kim, I appreciate your you being up and getting up with us early today. Thanks for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me, and enjoy your winter.
Yeah, and have a great Thanksgiving, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Well, see, and that's the thing. I mean, for a lot of us, as we go through our life, you're getting in the winter months, and it will happen where it's going to start getting colder, and it can do things to your skin.